exercise. Question number 1. Complete and write the following statements by choosing appropriate alternative given below. Number 1. Inflation is a dash economic concept. Your options are regional, global, or national. The answer is inflation is a global economic concept. Number 2. Inflation is generally associated with rapidly dash prices. Your options are rising, falling, or declining. The answer is inflation is generally associated with rapidly rising prices. Number 3. Due to developmental policies, dash expenditure increases. Your options are private, public, or personal. The answer is due to developmental policies, public expenditure increases. Number 4. An increase in dash reduces the stock of commodities available for human consumption. Your options are import, export, or production. The answer is an increase in export reduces the stock of commodities available for human consumption. Number 5. Due to an easy availability of dash, consumer spending rises. Your options are credit, time, or goods. The answer is due to an easy availability of credit, consumer spending rises. Number 6. Inflation dash saving and capital formation. Your options are reduces, increases, or expands. The answer is inflation reduces saving and capital formation. Question number 2. Write answers to the following questions in 1 or 2 sentences. Number 1. Define the term inflation. The answer is Professor Crowther has defined inflation as a state in which the value of money is falling because the prices are rising. Number 2. How does inflation affect moral values? The answer is some businessmen resort to adulteration, hoarding, and quality deterioration. Thus, inflation adversely affects moral values. Number 3. Explain the meaning of bank rate. The answer is the term bank rate refers to the rate of interest at which the central bank lends money to commercial banks. Number 4. What is meant by cash reserve ratio? The answer is the cash reserve ratio, that is CRR, refers to the proportion of total deposits which the commercial banks have to keep with the central bank. Number 5. Write any two direct measures to control inflation. The answer is number 1. Expansion of domestic output to meet the ever-increasing demand. Number 2. Direct control of prices and rationing, that is, bringing down the upper limit beyond which prices would not be allowed to rise. Question number 3. Write answers to the following questions in 5 to 6 sentences. Number 1. Write any 4 factors responsible for increase in demand for goods and services. The answer is demand for goods and services increases due to the following factors. Number 1. Increase in public expenditure. An increase in public expenditure due to war, development policies, etc. leads to increase in demand for the goods and services. Number 2. Increase in private expenditure. An increase in private expenditure on investment activities leads to increase in demand for the factors of production. It results in an increase in factor income, which increase the demand for consumer goods. Number 3. Increase in export. An increase in export reduces the stock of commodities available for the domestic consumption. It creates shortage of goods and services in the economy as the demand exceeds the supply. And number 4. Reduction in taxation. Reduction in taxes increases the purchasing power of consumers, which leads to increase in demands for goods and services. Number 2. What are the causes of decrease in supply of goods and services? The answer is the causes of decrease in supply of goods and services in an economy are as follows. Number 1. Shortage of factors of production. The shortage of capital, raw material, and labor reduces production of goods and services, which decreases the level of supply. Number 2. Industrial disputes. The industrial disputes result in strikes and lockouts. This results in fall in production and decrease in the supply of goods and services. Number 3. Natural calamities. Natural calamities like floods and droughts adversely affect the supply of food products and raw materials. Number 4. Lopsided production. Larger production of comforts and luxury goods reduces the supply of the essential goods in the market. And number 5. Hoarding of goods. The suppliers hoard the goods to earn more profit. Sometimes consumers hoard goods in anticipation of the rise in prices of goods in the near future. This reduces the supply of goods and services in the market. Number 3. Explain the effects of inflation on distribution. The answer is inflation leads to unequal distribution of wealth and income as the rich become richer and the poor becomes poorer. As the prices rise faster than the cost of production, the entrepreneur earns more profit. As the value of money falls, the fixed income earners like the pensioners and the salaried people are adversely affected as their income remains the same, but the value of money falls. The rising prices lead to high profit for those who invest in equity shares, whereas those who invest in bonds and fixed deposits are losers. Debtors are the gainers as they pay less purchasing power, whereas the creditors receive less in terms of real income. The big farmers benefit from the increase in the prices of agricultural goods. The small farmers do not gain much as they use major portion of their produce for self-consumption. Number 4. Explain the fiscal measures to control inflation. The answer is the fiscal measures to control inflation are as follows. Number 1. Reduction in the public, that is government expenditure. Number 2. Increase in the level of taxation and imposition of new taxes to curb expenditure on consumption. Number 3. Adoption of surplus budget by the government. And number 4. Borrowing of money from market, private individuals and firms to withdraw the excess purchasing power and thereby reduce demand for goods and services.